We need to be making a start, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, so let us start with two things that I have to say. One is that the general reminder to remind everyone present that this meeting will be filmed by the council and broadcast on the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. If you are seated in the chamber, it is likely that the cameras will capture your image. By your presence, you are deemed to consent to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. If you address the committee, your contribution will be recorded and broadcast, unless this is during a period when the meeting is in private session, as permitted by the Access to Information provisions. As the chairman of the meeting, I can, at my discretion, terminate or suspend filming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting, or if I consider that continued filming might infringe the rights of any individual or breach any statutory provision. And there will be a part 2 tonight, so that will apply. And before we start the agenda, I know this is on all of your agenda sheets, but I do need to say it, that we are holding this meeting in the pre-election period. So any discussions or debates must not in any way be used to promote any candidate or party in the coming election, or be designed to affect public support for a political party or candidate, or promotes or oppose a point of view on a question of political controversy which is identifiable as the view of one political party or group of councillors and not of another. So are we clear on that? So, apologies for absence.
We have apologies for absence from councillors Crawley, Bater and Restall. And Cant.
Thank you. Do I have... Do I have your permission to approve the record of minutes of the last meeting of the Finance and General Purposes Committee, which was held on the 23rd of January? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Specific declarations of interest. Are there any specific declarations of interest? As usual, if as we go along you think you might have a declaration of interest, then please indicate. Item 4 is to receive the minutes of the Personnel Subcommittee meeting held on the 22nd of February, which is page 4. So shall we start with that?
So we do have a referral item from the Personnel Subcommittee, but the suggestion is that we withhold that until the confidential session at the end of the meeting, so I'll return to that part of this agenda item at that point. And we also have a referral item from the Grounds Environmental Services Committee, and I also suggest that we withhold that one to the confidential agenda at the end of the meeting.
Okay, so that's...
However, 5.1
we can do.
we can do in public.
Okay. Okay, so let's go on then to agenda item 5.1, which is on page 6. Okay, are you all with us? Are you with us, everybody? page 6 of the agenda, which is the revised standing orders, which is agenda item 5. Have you found it? Okay. So this was a subcommittee of finance and general purposes, and it's a very lengthy piece of work that we valiantly went through. Paul, would you like to introduce what we need to do tonight?
Thank you, Chairman. So as you are aware, the standing orders are agreed by the council every year, and they've slightly changed a bit many years, and they've evolved into what they currently are. In recent years, NAUC have produced a set of model standing orders, which I would suggest are clearer, reflect current legislation better. So what the working group discussed was a proposed change of standing orders from me. So the new standing orders are based on the NAUC model, but they've been amended to take account of Dunstable idiosyncrasies or particular preferences that are relevant to us as a town council. So we talked the proposed document through with the working group line by line at some length. I don't think there was any controversy. There were some kind of minor points, well, why haven't you said that there, and it's not consistent with that bit there. But I don't, and also, didn't you realise, Paul, that we do this in Dunstable, a couple of those points, so that's all been reflected in, which is going to happen. So the proposal is that we accept the standing orders as they are, or with any changes you might suggest. There's nothing in there that's changed how the council operates from its current practice. There are a couple of things in there which had been left in there which we'd stopped doing a long time ago. For example, it included the option to elect the chairman or the mayor every year through a secret ballot, which is not really legal and we never do it anyway. So why have it in standing orders? It's better to take out things that aren't relevant anymore. But there's nothing in there that's radical change or radically different. The way they're written now, hopefully, is a bit clearer. Items that are in bold mean that that item is a legal requirement. So you could change the wording in standing orders, but it's a legal requirement, whether it's in standing orders or not, so it's healthier to have it there, I would suggest. Whereas the other items are all either good practice or local practice.
Okay, so as this has gone through a subcommittee and that you've all had the minutes, what I propose doing is doing when we have other lengthy documents, just going through a page at a time, and people stop me if there's anything they specifically want to mention. Are you all in agreement with that? Yes. Okay, so let's start at page 9, 10, 11. Liz.
Sorry, on page 10, point Q, there appears to be a different type font. So that needs to be amended before these are publicised.
Thank you. Page 11. 12. I'll give you enough time to go through on the computer so you can. Okay. 13. 14. 15. 16. Liz.
Can I just go back to 15, sorry, point C. If no other time is fixed, the annual meeting of the council shall take place at 6 p.m. It's 7 p.m, is it not?
So this is in bold. So the LGA 1972 does specify that that the meeting will be at 6 p.m. unless it's otherwise specified. Right, okay. So elsewhere in the document it does say council meetings are at 7 p.m, but that's there because that's what is in the law.
I have to say, I thought we do it at 7:30, don't we?
Sorry, can I come back?
Yeah.
We did raise at the working group that we thought would bring the annual council meeting forward to 7 o'clock.
7 in line with all other meetings, yes. Okay.
That was the suggestion.
So does that mean that we need to change this document?
No.
No, it's just understood.
This one's going to be
Okay. 16,
Different to the annual council meeting.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Liz?
Go back to 20.
Yeah, I'm
Are
going a
the
bit fast.
Number 12, draft minutes. Are the indentations meant to be there like that in the paragraphs?
No.
Sorry.
This is proofreading here. Okay. Right. Well, there we go. 21, we've done that already. And 22, Matt, which one was it you wanted?
14C, there seems to be a typo on line 3. It says the third town clerk. Sorry.
Good call.
Yep. Okay. 23. 24. 25. 26. 27. 28. 29. Okay, I think that's the last page. The only thing that I did raise is that this is written as chairman and he. We did have a little conversation about whether we wanted to make it chair all the way through and S/HE all the way through, which would mean going through the whole document. Apparently, these are usually written as chairman and he, but within the council, we tend to refer to the chair as chair.
It's fine as it's written.
So I think, John,
I have looked at other town councils. I looked at the Houghton Readers one last year, and it's twice as long as ours, and it does do he, her a lot, and it talks about it's kind of very how can I say? It's very much like a union document in that respect. It talks about brothers and sisters and things like that. So I think it's much easier to understand if we just talk in one universal gender thing and everyone accepts that.
Okay.
Thank you.
are most people happy with that?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other things that we want to raise? The function of doing this was while we're all here, 4 years into council, we do something that we know we can make some comment about because we understand what's going on. Having to do it with a brand new council would be far more difficult. So it's a good piece of work that's out of the way now and doesn't have to be looked at for another 12 months, which I think will give the new council that comes in May a bit of a head start, really. Okay? Lovely. Okay, I'll move on then. Trying to find amongst all of this, I've now lost the agenda. So, agenda item 6, financial monitoring report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you've all received this financial monitoring report that was based on the actuals to date for the 31st of January. So just to recap on the purpose of the report, we've provided on Appendix 1 the revenue budget position as at the 31st of January, but we've known year-end forecasts to date, which are currently standing at an underspend of predicted of 87,181. Then 1.2, for members to note the current balances on the earmarked reserves that was at Appendix 2, and they're as at 28th of February. And then 1.3, for members to receive and note the first interim internal audit report for this financial year, which again we're happy to note that concludes that the council continue to maintain an adequate and effective system of internal control. And then at 1.4, that members approve the revised financial regulations submitted at Appendix 4 of this report. And these financial regulations again are, we haven't changed the body of the financial regulations. It's purely because of the recent staffing changes in the last year and some tender thresholds that have changed the legal requirement of those. And then 1.5, for members to consider and approve the allocation of the year-end forecasted savings over and above what we have shown in the report. What we are suggesting is that once we have ensured the general reserve is at the minimum balance required of the 25% of the salary budget, this does leave an excess amount of the £44,864,000. And what we're proposing is that we allocate that amount of money to the three amounts shown in the report. So for £5,000 for the development of the new corporate plan in the next financial year, £10,000 an additional one-off contribution to the IT reserve to ensure that we can prepare for the new council members, whether it be to replace or refurbish the tablets for your committee meetings. And then the last item is for the contingency for Priory House going forward whilst the works are being completed of £29,864,000. And then just the last item was to note the current investments which are included in the report.
Thank you. So, let's go back to the beginning. So, shall we take this as go through 1.1 to 1.6 and any clarification that's necessary? So the first thing. So 1.1, for members to note the revenue budget position. Is there anybody who'd like to make any comments on that? Are you all happy? Once again, we're in a very secure position, which is a good position to be in. Okay, do we agree then that we do that? And 1.2 is note the current balance of earmarked reserves. Okay. 1.3 for members to receive and note the first interim internal audit report, which concludes that the council continues to maintain an adequate and effective system of internal control, which I'm very pleased to hear, and I'm sure everybody else is. Thank you, Lisa. 1.4, that members approve the revised financial regulations. So shall we just have a look at those? So that's Appendix 4 of this report, which I think is on page. Can you help me with the page? Have you got getting there? It's way in, isn't it?
Page 55.
Page 55, if you'd like to go through it. This is a hefty amount tonight. Right, so the financial regulations start on page 54. And there's 17 parts to that. Now, how do we want to deal with it? You've all read it. Do you want me to go through a page at a time like I did before so that anybody can bring up anything? Or do we just go through on everybody's read it, everybody's happy? Question. John?
I read it earlier, so I'd be quite happy to go through everybody's read it and everyone's happy.
Is there anyone that disagrees with that?
No, I've read it as well, Madam Chair. If there's anyone who hasn't read it, perhaps they should say so. If there's anyone with a point, more importantly, they want to make,
That's,
they could indicate.
that's a good comment, Kenson. Is there anybody that has read it and would like to make a comment? Or is there anyone that's really unhappy about us just taking that as read? Okay, we'll take it as read. Thank you, Lisa. So that gets us to 1.5. So consider and approve the allocation of the £44,864, which is outlined in 4.7 of this report. So is there anybody that would like to ask comments about that? Kenson?
I'll make a comment, Madam Chair, that the officers seem to have taken due care and consideration in working out where those funds should be allocated as reserves, and as such we can approve their opinion.
Is there anybody else that has any comments? Are you all happy with that? It seems financially prudent. We're not just spending it, we're actually putting it into reserves anyway. I mean, the only thing that we're actually likely to be spending is that obviously there will need to be new IT, and the equipment that we've got needs to be refurbished before it goes out again in early May anyway. Okay, so is there anybody that wants to speak to that, or is everybody happy that we go with the approve the allocation? Approve? Is there any dissenting voices? No. Fine, fine. And 1.6 is for members to note the current investments. So we just need to note those. Paul?
Just to update members that we are moving money between our various accounts about once a month at the moment, or as near as we can, just to make sure because interest is up, we're trying to make maximum use of the money that we have in the bank. So I think we're managing them a lot more actively than we were doing when the interest was much lower.
We have in effect earned quite a bit of interest. I mean, on one account we earned £8,000 of interest, which is in 1 month. That's giving us, well, it's giving us a little more wiggle room, I think. But you know, we get it with one hand, and then other things are far more expensive. So we're not actually winning, I suppose. Okay, so that's the financial monitoring report. Priory House reopening. That's agenda item 7 on page 71, if you're now flipping through madly. I think we have Lisa. Good evening, Lisa.
Hello. Hello, good evening.
You're mute.
Can you hear me? Can you not hear me now? No. I'm not on mute.
No. Hang on. I think, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. That's good.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the purpose of the report is for members to agree spend from the Meadway Capital Fund of up to £26,000 for new bespoke serving counter and associated furniture for the Undercroft area. When entering the Undercroft in preparation of the works, all furniture was assessed for their condition, and being over 10 years old, the sofas, tub chairs and low-level tables were in poor condition with significant wear and tear. It was deemed that the soft furniture was not fit for purpose, and several low-level coffee tables were also significantly damaged.
Lisa,
These
can you
items were
just, Lisa, can you just stop for a second? There's a couple of members that haven't quite got their heads into what you're talking about. Are we ready to carry on? Thank you. Carry on, Lisa, sorry.
Okay. It was deemed that the soft furniture was not fit for purpose, and several low-level coffee tables were also significantly damaged. These items were disposed of, and it should be noted that all the furniture that was not damaged, mainly the high tables and chairs, have been kept and will be repositioned throughout the tea rooms. The request is only to replace the items that were broken, damaged or no longer fit for purpose. Officers feel that to launch the Undercroft back open after the repair works is an excellent time to create a new environment and look, and to reassess the layout, try and maximise covers and help create an optimal environment for trading. Officers have been liaising with customers over the past few months, researching different tastes, preferences, the purpose of visits, and understand what most suitable furniture for the Undercroft will be needed. As members will see in the appendix, this has created a mixed environment with different seating options. The serving counter currently used was put in place in 2011. It consists of 2 sideboards put together, and it was brought from a charity shop. This setup was deemed as a temporary measure to try out a new layout in the tea rooms, and if successful was a permanent solution. However, after 12 years, the sideboards are still being used and are very tired and not fit for purpose. In terms of maximising income, the counter and serving area is crucial. It is often the first impression, and it is the main point of sale in the tea rooms. The drinks area is very limited for staff, and there's very little room to display items. Minimal space to make drinks, and it looks very tired and out of date. With drinks being the main seller in the tea rooms, it's essential to upgrade this area if the tea rooms are to offer an effective service, and a bespoke built-in space would achieve this. The main considerations. Following the refurbishment, Priory House will need statement pieces to offer something different and unique to Priory House to best reflect the work that's been done. An example of this would be purchasing of second-hand church pews to create feature booth seating in front of the Undercroft windows, and these booths would cater for parties of 6 to 7 people, ideal for larger afternoon teas bookings, something that we know customers have asked for. The new layout will meet different needs of customers while also highlighting the Undercroft unique features, such as a cosy area in front of the fireplace and in front of the windows. Appendix 1 gives the member an ideal layout. However, this is an approximate layout, as officers will need to have a fluid and flexible approach to ensure that the seating locations are suitable, bearing in mind accessibility, pinch points and customer experience. Before the Undercroft closed, the capacity of the tea rooms was 57 covers. With the new layout, booths, high stools and etc., the capacity will grow to 78 covers, an increase of 21. In addition, the 12 additional covers in the gift shop would remain, thus providing a total capacity of 90 covers. Financial implications. The funding is being requested from the Meadway Capital Fund as new items. It meets the criteria for spend, and members have previously been supportive of this spend. This report was requested to provide further information about the items of the spend proposed. Policy and corporation plan implications. The new furniture and serving counter will assist the council in meeting its corporate plan priority of improving services, creating a sense of pride and continuing to improve the organisational management and efficiency of the town council. Health and safety implications. Much of the existing furniture in the Undercroft had been thrown away as it was either broken or no longer fit for use. The new furniture that is proposed would meet all the necessary health and safety standards and would be in a commercial rather than a domestic grade. Environmental policy implications. Officers have considered the best way to meet the Council's environmental policy. This includes ensuring that the wood used to create the bespoke serving area is from sustainable source, and the repurposing of church pews in the Undercroft for the booth-style seating. When sourcing the remaining items, officers will consider the carbon impact by purchasing nationally and identifying items that are not shipped internationally, and will also look into recyclable materials for the soft furnishings. Qualities implications. Non-directly, although consideration is being given to ensure that there is enough space throughout the tea rooms for wheelchairs and those with sight impairments. Priory House will also offer a variety of seating options to help those with other physical needs, and this will be constantly monitored. In conclusion, considerable money, time and effort has been spent on the repair of the Undercroft, and the finishing and cosmetic touches play a key part in how the public view the project and are able to enjoy the Undercroft. This will also impact on the outcomes of the project, which has been submitted to Historic England regarding the increased number of covers and the space available due to the works. The new furniture would see a mixture of seating and tables to suit an array of customers' needs, whilst also attracting new ones, catering an attractive, accessible, flexible environment for any visit, being for afternoon tea, lunch, or simple coffee whilst working. Thank you.
I'm sure people have comments about what they've seen. And rather than us spending an enormous amount of time this evening going round and round in circles, I think if people have a comment of something they do and don't like, it might be better if you actually drop a quick email to Lisa and say, you know, I don't like this or I don't like that, or I've got some views. It means then the staff can just collate everything that anybody says, because you might have comments about this. So the key thing that we've got to really think about tonight is, do we agree the spending? So I've already had Peter that wants to ask, and Sid, you're second. So Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, the essential thing is to agree the 26,000. We've already agreed previously that we needed the new furniture. Members have had an opportunity to put forward one or two comments, and obviously I'm sure that Lisa will take those into account. It's important that we have that link with the heritage, and I think that with the fact that we're trying to cater for different groups, what we want to try and avoid is not to end up with something too contrary to the heritage aspect. It's a very important building, we know, and we, in creating further cover, it's necessary to ensure that people can wander around, people that wait, we've got the staff and so on. But this essentially, as we say, is the 26,000. And as you've said, I think if anybody has any particular comment, then it's outside this meeting. But I say in general terms, it's the link with the heritage and not doing anything too contrary to ensure that we have some sort of respect for the building and the context therein. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification. Was this 26,000 allocated when we done the review of the Meadway Capital to the various funding, to the various projects that we approved of?
The short answer is it was in the list of things of how to spend the 500,000. When we initially proposed to members, members didn't say no, but you said you wanted more detail before you approved it. So it's always been penciled in to be spent on this purpose. And this is the more detailed report members had requested before you actually approved the spend.
Thank you.
Can I also say that we are very constrained as to what we spend that money on, and therefore it happens to fall within the constraints of what we can spend it on. Because it has to be capital rather than on revenue. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question with regards to, with the increase in cover. I do remember the last time that we talked about the tea rooms was a similar aspect with regards to the gift shop, and the idea was floated that it is a loss leader, or it doesn't make as much money as it costs, Priory Tea Rooms in general. I wondered if the increase in cover, and I'd like to know if we foresee that helping us with regards to income from the tea rooms and the cost that it has to the town. Thanks.
Becky, do you think you could answer that, or would it be Lisa?
No, I'm happy to answer. I can't give you any specifics in terms of how much more that additional seating will bring, but that's exactly the reason why we've been looking at more seats and a greater number of covers, and that's something which Historic England have asked for as well, to provide us leverage as to why they should be offering us and providing us with the £382,000 that they granted us last week. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. We can't give exact figures, but the additional seats will increase income undoubtedly.
Thank you, Becky. Is there anybody else that wants to ask any questions? Lisa?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say that in principle I absolutely agree the money has to be spent very carefully, and it is actually essential that we finish this project properly, having spent so much money on the house and the refurbishment and all the other investments that we've managed to procure for it. So it's important that we do the soft furnishings and the finishing touches really importantly prior to the opening. And I'm happy to email separately and with some thoughts about the furnishings. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to make any comments? John?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I believe it was suggested that the furniture would have a life duration of 10 years. Was that? Or well, if it wasn't, I think it should really. So if you divide £26,000 into 10 years, it's 2,600 for all the furniture per year. You're easily going to make that up over a year with your income. So I don't see any. I think it's a good budget to spend on all the furniture.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to make any comments? The only comment I want to make is if you put in these church pews, please make sure they're big enough for bottoms. Because church pews are notoriously narrow and uncomfortable. So that's from a personal point of view, Sid. I'm not going to sit on something that's too hard.
From John's point of view.
But, you know, I hope you're going for the larger variety of church pews rather than the really skinny ones. Okay, so do we have a consensus then that you agree to spending of this £26,000 and for the refurbishment when we get the building back into a point where we can use it, and that if members have any comments about the proposed furniture, that they actually contact Becky or Lisa and say, can you tell me this or can you tell me that? They need some clarity. Is it? Anybody else? Anybody unhappy about that? Fine. Okay, that's gone through. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks.
Okay, so we've got a really good one tonight, haven't we? Revised complaints policy. And that is on page 77.
So if I may, Chair.
Yes.
So yeah, we are trying to get a few things agreed this evening, ready for new councillors in May. So the council does have a complaints policy. It's not been updated substantially for quite some time. The proposed policy is in line with Central Bedfordshire's current approach and the legal requirements around our complaints process, but it does make it clearer to a member of the public how to complain about a council service, a member of staff, a councillor, and more specific types of complaints which would go down different routes. So hopefully it's clearer.
Okay, so as with the previous ones that we've gone through, I propose that we find the page which is page 79. And there are, how many pages are there for this report? Do you know? Not that many. Okay, it's not a lengthy report. Is there anybody that's got any comments that they'd like to make? Liz?
It's just the font again and the layout. I don't know whether point 2, whether those gaps are, or is that just the way, because the next line is a link, that it's spaced it automatically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Weird,
left
isn't it?
justify that
Weird.
paragraph and it looks weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing justified it.
Okay, that's fine.
So the
Sorry, Gloria. Page 81, under the stage 2 appeal, the first line under actions, it just refers to town clerk, not town clerk and chief executive, and then it says if the town clerk and chief executive.
Okay, so the action recommended on this is that we adopt the proposed new policy. Is everybody happy to do that? Okay, and that once a new corporate communications and marketing officer is in place, the council's website is updated to provide a more comprehensive and accessible way for residents to send in compliments and complaints, and that's compliments, not compliment. Okay. We'd like more than one, yeah, thank you. Not yet? Okay. So, item 9 is the press and media policy. We're really getting through these policy updates tonight, aren't we?
If I may, Madam Chair. So two points. Firstly, the standing orders you've just agreed, which are based on the model, refer to the council's media policy. So I thought it'd be a good idea to have one. And also, particularly when new members come in, I think it's really helpful to have in, hopefully as clearly written down as possible, what the boundaries are in terms of officer communications, member communications, my role, your role, in terms of dealing with the press and social media. So I don't think there's anything in there which is different to our current practice or different to everybody's shared understanding of how we do operate, but this just lays it down in clarity for new members to clearly understand.
Okay, so the action that we've got to go is that we adopt the proposed new policy, which starts on page 85. Is there anything on there that anybody'd like to comment about? 86. And that's it, so just 2 pages. Is everybody happy that we adopt? Okay. Right, that's gone through then. So agenda item 10 is enhanced staff benefits.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we've been investigating staff benefits for some time, partly because of our Investors in Process work, but also invest in people. Thank you. Shows you how my brain works. But also in line with the challenges we do have about staff recruitment at the moment. I don't think we've got a current issue with staff retention, but I would very much like to keep it that way. So the 4 things we've come up with at the moment are wage stream, which is a well thought of scheme which supports staff with budgeting, but with also pay. So for example, if we had a member of staff who was in particularly dire financial straits and they felt their only option was to go to a payday lender and pay that kind of rate, which I'm sure we'd all prefer they didn't for their sake, this scheme would enable them, so say they're 2 weeks through the month, this would enable them to be paid some of the money they've already earned up front before the end of the month to enable them to access that cash. So they're only being paid for work they have done, so it's the money they're entitled to. The company that arranges this makes that entire arrangement. So Lisa and Kelly are not involved in that, but there's an arrangement they can make which ensures that person can access money they're entitled to slightly earlier. Now, you might think that doesn't sound an ideal way to manage finances, but it's certainly a better way to manage your finances than using a payday lender. This is the only of the 4 items where there is a cost, but the cost is £3 per month for employee that signs up to it. I'm not guessing that we'll have more than most 10. I would guess employees would sign up to it. So in the grand scheme, that's a very low cost that we could manage within the current budget. And if we've got members of staff who need that kind of service, I'd much rather we paid it and they were able to. And they're much more likely to carry on as successful members of staff if we can support them through those kinds of financial challenges. The health option is where we would provide health screenings. Now, there would be a cost to us for doing that. This doesn't give us a clear proposal about exactly how much we spend. We'd make that decision further down the road if you're happy in principle to investigate this approach. We would do it at probably key points in somebody's either career with us or in key points in their life. Anything we can do to support and encourage staff to be healthy, to be aware of their health issues, is in staff's interest, and it's in our interest to have a healthy workforce and to support members staff to understand health issues they may have and ways they might be able to address them. I've missed something out, haven't I?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So Vive Up is a way of buying things pretty much with the council's support. So for example, if a member of staff needs some white goods, it would be a way of buying those white goods through and paying it off from their salary. So it's a supported way. They know they're able to pay it off. They know the payments will come out at the point when they get paid, and it would enable people to access things potentially which otherwise they'd be buying at significant credit. So again, it's no cost to the council, except for a bit of admin time to make these things work, but it gives members of staff another way of accessing another service which may be of interest to them or help to them. And also this would include a cycle to work scheme where people are able to use salary sacrifice to buy a cycle over a period of time. So where people would like to cycle to work, they'd have an affordable way of doing that. There's at least one member of staff who's already keen to access that, who I do know of. And the final of the 4 is salary sacrifice for electric vehicles. So the way the government currently enables people to operate is to purchase or to lease an electric vehicle through a council or an employer, and the main benefit is that is then done through salary sacrifice, so the employee can save what would have been the income tax and national insurance they would have paid on the money they're paying on leasing the vehicle. Excuse me. So this would only be available to members of staff who are paid sufficiently above the minimum wage that when they'd paid that lease cost they were still receiving the minimum wage. So that's the cut-off point for it. But it could be a significant saving to some staff to enable them to have a consistent way of leasing a car. Obviously, it would mean potentially some more electric vehicles being used by staff, which would support our environmental policy, and it would give staff another option for accessing vehicles and paying them off consistently over time, if that worked for staff. Again, no immediate cost to us. There would be a minor saving because the council would not have to pay our national insurance contribution, where this member of staff was saving that national insurance contribution themselves. So that would cover, I'd suggest, our admin time for that scheme. So those suite of 4 things together is what we're proposing. I would suggest there are probably different things there which would benefit different members of staff. But I think apart from anything else, it would give a good signal to staff that we're trying to support them, trying to put together as much of an attractive offer to work at the council as we can do.
Can I start by asking whether or not the council, if they start this scheme, is going to put in some more electric charging points? Because for the vehicles, it's electric car lease. And as far as I know, we don't have any out in the car park.
So the proposal doesn't come with that suggestion. The scheme does provide everybody who gets involved with a free home charger. It's something we could look at. I have mixed feelings, if I'm really honest, because staff with petrol cars charge their cars at petrol stations. And so the scheme would come with a home charger. So for almost all staff, staff will be able to drive into the office and drive home on a night's charge. So it'd be unlikely that somebody would actually need to charge a card during the day, I'd suggest.
I mean, it's an issue. So that's the first thing that I think.
Chair.
Can I just?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy to, if members agree, to agree on the proviso that we research the option of installing electric charging point for staff. I've got several questions in my head about how we do that, but yeah, we can absolutely explore it. And obviously we have several sites, so we might need to think about which site may or may not be appropriate. We do have a charging point for the council vehicles, so presumably you could add something onto that that staff would pay in charge, but that'd have to be a really clearly done process. But we can definitely explore it.
Okay. So the first person was Liz.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, my understanding is, because we've had exactly the same question where I work, is that there's a tax implication if people start charging their private vehicles from work. So there is a tax implication that we need to consider. I'm absolutely all for all of these options. They're very, very similar to what a lot of companies do, and it just does give that extra level of support and opportunities to our people in what is currently a very difficult timeline for people at the moment, and I think it's really important that we do offer these opportunities and options to our people.
Thank you. Matt.
Thank you, Chair. I had a quick question with regards to how the scheme is going to be rolled out. How do you intend to get this to, as in make people aware? I'd just like to know how people are going to find out about it, because I know a lot of people that I work with would see this and just they would turn off personally. And also, is this also going to be offered to people on 0 hours contracts? I believe we have a few people on 0 hours contracts. Thanks.
So in terms of communication, the three ways we'll communicate. One is we have all staff meetings. Not all staff come to our all staff meetings because we have people who only work on Saturdays, for example. So, but as far as possible, they are fairly well attended, and they're actually this week in the current round. Secondly, we do have a clear process whereby things are cascaded from myself then to the senior management team, and then managers cascade them to their teams on a one-to-one basis. So we're small enough that actually that does work, so messages do get through face-to-face to everybody. And also we do now have the monthly staff email newsletter that goes round, actually out on Teams, so even staff without work email are able to access it through their personal emails. So between those three things, hopefully we will have at least people understand and be aware of the schemes. The second point, oh sorry, 0 hours. So the short answer is it varies quite a lot between the schemes. They've all got terms and conditions attached to them. So quite a few of them you have to have passed your 6 months probation, so be a clear long-term employee to qualify for to meet the credit requirements, and have a certain level of salary depending on the scheme. So I said for the electric vehicle scheme, for example, you can't have a salary sacrifice that takes you under minimum wage, and there are a couple of other checks in terms of have you got a proper driving licence with not too many points on it, for example, for that one. So it does vary quite a lot between members of staff. There will be less benefit to somebody on a very, very casual contract, but these are what we can offer at the moment.
Yeah, just a couple of points. So really, in a nutshell, this funding for these enhanced benefits won't be paid out of the council tax from residents on that score. Okay, that's great, and I think it's a very good incentive. The other question you said about points electric charging vehicle points. I thought Dunstable Town Council filled in something some time ago that John Crawley did from Central Beds to say the allocation we would be having in Dunstable, and I don't know whether that reflects that, so I just want some clarification on that, please.
Yeah, there are several electric charging schemes around. Central Beds have put in some and are putting in some around the town, and I can't tell you right now exactly where they are. We certainly did respond, but I think the specific proposal is to look at council premises.
We've done that. John Crawley done it about a year or so ago, where he was asked by CBC to put down the amount of charging points we required, and that was done about 2 years ago.
If I recall, Sid, you're right. John was asked to identify suitable places where charging points could be put in our grounds as well. But I think that was only ever if there was sufficient money available, would that happen? But there has been, I think, 4 double charging points just put in Private Gardens car park. I noticed them the other day. But you are right. We definitely were asked to share. So it might be worth picking up with John as to what and where that's gone, if anywhere.
Kenson.
Yeah, obviously the electric car scheme, because of the price of current electric cars, will only be a benefit to your higher paid staff. But that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. We have a similar scheme at work, and I've had an electric car for 7 years. I can probably tell you we've got free charging at the moment, but we've got 12 charging points, and they're full all day long. So we won't have free charging much longer, but I think there is a scheme or two where they'll put them in, you basically lease them, and I'll talk to you about that outside this meeting.
So the suggestion is that we approve these proposals to offer staff the 4 enhanced benefits. Is there anybody that disapproves of this? No? Okay, then we have approval with, I hope, the caveat that we do look at the electric charging situation, because I certainly wouldn't like someone to not be able to take that on board because they lived in an apartment. Kenson?
One more point regarding the people without driveways. There's a scheme going on in Milton Keynes at the moment that has launched where you get a little channel outside your house. Yeah, that's already available.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work with a flat, though, does it? If you have an apartment. Okay. So we're happy that that goes through. Lovely. So the last thing is the phone box. Pardon?
Chair, do you want me to introduce?
You can introduce if you. I was just finding the page.
Okay. So the proposal is the red phone box on Church Street. The proposal is that the council take it on. Now, it's free, and we like free. However, it's a liability. So we're taking on a listed building, which will come with long-term liability. We haven't given you a specific proposal as to how to use it. There are several suggestions. As an in-bloom resource seems like a particularly strong one. But the proposal at the moment is that we take on the building, that we use the additional forecast saving that John's identified up to £5,000 to progress the project as required. And that obviously once we've agreed to take it on, then we'll do work to clarify what to use it for and perhaps develop that over time.
Anybody want to make any comments about the phone box? Liz?
So this was mine and Lisa's little dream up at the beginning part of our mayoral and deputy year, and we've been asking John to bring it to committee so that we could hopefully progress it. That telephone it's only emergency use now anyway, and I don't remember the last time it probably got used, and there is so many different opportunities for us to do it, and we just felt that we can't let that go into further neglect, that it is, it's the only one left in town. So, we don't want to see that go. We don't want to see it be removed and put into somebody's back garden that you'll never see again. And for us, it was just a way of keeping it vibrant. And actually, what a good in bloom story it would be for this year. And then next year, you maybe put something else in it, like a defibrillator, or you have it as both. There's you could do a dual aspect thought on it. So for us, it was yes, it's a liability and a risk going forward, but it's not a huge one, and it's a bit of history for the town, and it's something different. It's a bit of quirkiness for the town.
Yeah, thank you. Just on the back of Liz's comments there, yeah. I mean, the phone box is a really iconic piece of British street furniture, and sadly there aren't many, left. There are in certain places like London and places like that, but certainly for a young generation that are growing up now, they literally do not know what they were used for, and I think if we could progress the historic element of this and maybe have an information board alongside it, like we do in the cemetery and in some of our parks, to explain the history of the phone box and what it was used for. Obviously, members here this evening, we all know because we've all been part of that. But generationally, a lot of people in this town won't have been, and it would be really, really sad not to save this iconic piece of street furniture. I really do believe that. And the fact that we could make use of it in other ways, like you said, the defibrillator, or to start with just like an In Bloom project to kick it off, and then make it something a bit more of a long-standing project, then I think it would be really, really lovely to save it. Thank you.
John.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I looked at this. I agree with it in principle. I agree that purchasing it for £1 is a very good price, considering they used to sell them for considerably more. I don't understand the £5,000 that was talked about at the beginning, because I wouldn't really like to be spending thousands and thousands of pounds on it. I think the Britain in Bloom idea with the flowers in is a very good idea. Because it would add another aspect to the town's annual enhancement of things, because they're always looking for new things with that competition. I wouldn't recommend a library because I think the books would get nicked, unfortunately. Defibrillator could be good, but they're quite expensive anyway, and they could go in other places. So I agree with it in principle. I wouldn't like to see thousands of pounds spent on it. I think plants would be cheap, and it's the sort of thing that members of Britain in Bloom, in Dunstable in Bloom, could look after, and also it'd be very nice as you come into the town. That's my bit.
It's on a rather dead corner as well. There's nothing flowery or pretty on that particular corner. There's just a waste ground car park behind it. So it would actually be a nice feature. Okay, so the question that we're being asked is... Johnson, I'm sorry I didn't see your hand. Apologies.
Well, Madam Mayor, Madam Chair, thank you. I think, yes, I do agree in principle that this needs to be kept. As considering, what we can do with it, I'm just thinking about the educational elements that Lisa was just talking about. Think about the schools, think about the young people. You can bring them to the phone box, give them some kind of educational elements. What if this is basically the phone box that we used to use? No, now everybody have this mobile phone, but this is where we started from. Do we still have the phone in there?
The phone is still in there for emergency use only at the
Okay,
moment.
so that itself, I think it would be a brilliant thing to have some young people, take a talk to that position and actually get to use it. I think the idea of using it as a library, actually, it's a brilliant idea. I think the presentation, the idea of it, the cockiness of it, yes, you can use it for the Anglian Bloom, but the idea that you just use it just to present flower, I think it takes away the purpose of the phone box itself. So preserving the purpose of the phone box, in my view, relate more to education and how you can preserve that for that use. So yes, happily use it for the In Bloom, but I think we should carefully consider how we can preserve it for the educational use of young people of this town. Thank you.
I have to say, in my hometown, they've got one, and people just deposit books that otherwise they'd put into a bin or something and say, please help yourself. And everybody knows if they're doing a house clearance, then a box of books goes down into the telephone box, and people go in there and see what's there and take what they wish. So we have the situation then that do we adopt the phone box? And we've also done, I think, 1.2, if we get it, what we're going to do in the future. And approve the use of revenue savings if we need to spend some money on it. Okay. Thank you, Kenson. I know it's a long one tonight. Yeah. Okay, so action recommended. 1.1. Do we wish to adopt the phone box? Yes, okay. We've given some indication that we like the idea of flowers and the interpretation board, and the possibility that we might put books in it or have it as an educational resource in the future. And we approve the use of some revenue savings so that if any money is needed, but I take John's view that we don't want to be spending all of £5,000, but we put it to one side. It's the reserve, if you wish, for the phone box if things need to be spent. Are we all in agreement then? Yeah. Lovely. Okay, that's that one done. So the next bit is 12, which is the outside organisations. Have we received a report from Councillor Bater? No. Madam Mayor, is there anything from the Twinning Association?
I've not been invited to any meetings in the whole year I've been mayor, so no.
No, okay. Hospice at Home?
They have a meeting in early May, but they're ongoing as per with their volunteers and supporting the 30 plus patients they've got at the moment.
Okay. Peter, have you got anything on Ashton Elms houses?
Yes, we had a meeting. Yes, we had a meeting recently. There is one vacancy at the moment, and we're looking for a suitable person, shall we say, to go in there. There's a very nice community there now, and we want to sort of keep it that way, so we have to be, say, careful who we offer the flat to. That's about all. It's going well.
Would you like to continue with the Schools Foundation?
Yes, indeed. Manshead School is the recipient, along with Ashton St Peter's Lower, of monies that we had from the sale of Ashton Middle School. Both schools have had a considerable amount of refurbishment, shall we say. Manshead, obviously being the biggest school, has had a little bit more of the share of the money, and over the last couple of years they have had a number of projects, and it really has transformed the school. We were debating the last tranche of money, which will be used over the summer holidays, and that will, I think, complete what it was that we had for that school. And as I say, it has made a considerable difference to that school. We didn't actually discuss the lower school, but I understand that, again, it has made a good difference to the school itself.
Thank you. Yes, I myself have been around Ashton St Peter's, yes. And I've also been around Manshead, and it has made a considerable difference. It's taken longer than we hoped at Manshead, but we have had COVID in the middle of that. And the schools needed to do it during the school holidays, so it's of necessity taken a while. But the money's been extremely well spent, and it's really made the school look very,
Excellent.
very swish.
an excellent record as well as being kept of what money is being spent. A large file.
Thank you, Peter. Kenson, is there anything on Choose Foundations? I know they only meet twice a year.
Oh, big news. Julie Tipler has adjusted her opening hours. She's extended the hours she's open actually. But other than that, nothing's happened.
Thank you. Is there anything on the Lockington charity? Oh, sorry, I've missed the Poor Land charity. Councillor Hollick, Councillor Jones.
Yes. Oh. I'll have a different voice.
Poor Lands Charity met a few weeks ago on the 2nd of February to agree the amount of money that we'll be distributing on Maundy Thursday to those residents that have registered. And this year that amount of money will be £75 per person. So it has gone up in line with inflation.
Oh, good.
So we will be here, Peter and I, with the others from the committee on Maundy Thursday to issue that money out.
Lockington charity and Marsh charity, that's John and...
Okay, I'll take this one as John's unfortunately not able to make the meeting times that they've chosen to have the meetings. We're just about to start a round of some inspections in some of the properties in Church Street. We've now got, as Kenson's alluded to, the charities group have now increased their operating hours because they've brought in a second administrator. So those hours have increased. But we have made Julie aware that we as councillors are all stepping down as such in May. So therefore we may not be councillor reps post-May. So they are aware that there may be new faces to be introduced.
I did point out on the last occasion that the Dunstable Concert Ensemble has not been in existence for about 3 years. So could we make sure it gets taken off, please? I apologise, but for reasons that you're all aware of, I did not manage to get to the District Scout Executive. I will put a report in for the minutes. Okay, so I think, is that all of it for the outside bodies? So we now go on to part 2. So I now have to state that we will be going into... Thank you, Peter. Do I have a seconder? Kenson, thank you.